Turn out your pockets for this week's
Initial counts. Part 1. The initial counts. Part 1. The initial counts.
Hey there, Lower Deckers! Today we've got the penultimate episode of Season 4 to talk about, The Inner Fight. Right off the bat, we have the obvious callback to The Inner Light, though the plot little resembles Picard's Second Life experience. It does, however, follow up on another of TNG's best episodes, with the return of Nick Locarno as the mastermind behind the season mystery ship, introduced in The First Duty. For all the theories that have been circling the internet since the beginning of the season, I don't think anyone called the return of not Tom Paris's backstory as the season big bad, and bringing back Robert Duncan McNeil to reprise his original Trek role gets a like. Though that's not the only callback to this episode. We come to find out that for all of Mariner's troubles since getting promoted this season, it goes back to another member of Nova Squadron, Cedo Jaxa. This season of Lower Decks has had a theme the last few episodes of redemptions. Cedo got a second chance to redeem herself, and then laid down her life in this show's very namesake episode, Lower Decks. Presumably, this connection between Mariner and Nova Squadron is going to become more clear in the season's final episode. While we're on this topic, I have the only dislike for the episode in how simply Mariner has her awakening just talking to a random Klingon. Her friends both on the Cerritos and off have been trying to help her work through whatever it is that has had her on a mission of self-destruction ever since getting her hollow pip. While I'm thrilled she's making progress to get away from Season 1 Mariner, it just seemed too easy as an all-better moment. Now that we've gone through all the hard-hitting parts of the episode, let's circle back to the beginning and talk about the overall plots. Seems Nick has gone from stealing non-Federation ships to kidnapping former Starfleet officers. The Cerritos is ordered to secure a list of people we know and love, including Seven of Nine, Bev Crusher, Locarno himself, and I have a like for touching on Thomas Riker again, Will's transporter clone from TNG's Second Chances, and whose last known whereabouts were imprisoned for life on Cardassia during the DS9 episode Defiant. I always wondered if he survived the Dominion War, and I'm glad we have some confirmation that he's still alive. Freeman wants Mariner's friends to sideline her from going rogue on a planet full of danger, and sends them to fix a weather satellite on an obscure planet. Meanwhile, Carol takes the Cerritos to New Axton, which seems like a wretched hive of scum and villainy. Despite the art design being very Mos Eisley, I've got a like for the running joke that plays out for Freeman through the episode of Starfleet thinking they're better than people in a known pirate's den. They go looking for information at a bar called Mud's, which is presumably a callback to Harry Mudd, and this all culminates in this weird callback to TOS's The Corbomite Maneuver, as Carol roughs up someone from the First Federation to try and get intel on where to find Locarno, thinking it's just a puppet, as was the case with Blaylock in the original callback. Furthering the joke about Carol not knowing he's a puppet, it almost felt like the jokes from the very first short trek to Skin a Cat. Also, who knew Billups had a badass bounty hunter alter ego? Side note, does the bartender in Muds remind anyone else of Mike Haggerty's brief Klingon cameo in Redemption, more recognizable to some as Skoran the blacksmith from Thine Own Self? I have one small like in this plot for Rutherford realizing he has pockets. Pockets aren't something we typically see in most Starfleet uniforms so that they would look sleek. Apparently, pockets are overrated in the 24th century. While all that's going on, the rest of our main characters babysit Mariner while fixing a weather satellite, and as usual, I have a like for T'Lyn throughout the episode. For her wonderfully Vulcan wit, trying to get Mariner to straighten up and fly right during the mission, with such bangers as, "It will be 2.7 times more dangerous if you don't know," and "Perhaps we should find shelter before anything is brought." After figuring out the satellite has been tampered with, We get a bit of a well-used Trek trope where they're able to get off a doomed shuttle at the last second, as the Klingons that got taken in the first episode reappear and take out their shuttle. Which leads to another trope of being within walking distance of the only thing on an entire planet that can help them get rescued. Speaking of which, is this weather ground link station another Star Wars callback this week to the Endor bunker from the end of Return of the Jedi? Since getting there is half the fun, I have a like for the group stopping to rest in a giant tree, and Boimler talking in his sleep about Beverly Crusher teaching him to tap dance, which is a callback to Data's day. After everything that's happened so far, Mariner predictably slips away to try and complete the mission all by herself, only to find her new random Klingon frenemy. As they fight, I have another like for this awesome bit of sci-fi weather in Glass Rain. That is some absolutely terrifying stuff. And as Mariner puts it, stupid knife rain, as she pulls a shard out of the same shoulder she repeatedly had knives thrown into earlier in the season. While I gave Mariner's quick moment of clarity a dislike, I did like the interactions between her and her opponent waiting out the storm. I even have a like for it culminating in Beckett giving him a hug, and he gets a callback to the million little times Worf said that Klingons do not do something. In this case, Klingons do not hug. But I guess that's all it took to flip his frenemy status with her. After her great awakening, she rushes headlong into the next fight. Not with fists flying, but with a classic Starfleet motivational speech to bring the kidnapped crews on the planet together, with a little help from the often recognized Mistress of the Winter Constellations. This is so classically Star Trek, bringing people together, and deserves a like. As they trick the Klingon ship into destroying their weather station, another callback is the gooey purple Klingon blood that goes back to the undiscovered country. Does anyone else think the venomous tremble lizards from the intro looked like Baxter Stockman's mousers from TMNT? Anyway, kind of odd putting a two-parter at the end of the season and not leaving it as a cliffhanger. But for me, this is easily the best episode of the season so far. It pays off a ton of season tension and the arc of the mystery ship, while leaving some big unknowns for the final episode. I really hope Tom Paris is also worked in somehow, just to make Robbie McNeil pull double duty. I can't wait to talk about this episode further this Sunday with my Buffer Time friends, live at 2 p.m. Eastern here on this channel. If you've enjoyed the content, please consider a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel. I think I have to announce the retiring of this particular Lower Decks Rarely Going Where No One Has Gone Before shirt. It has not held up as well as any of the other official merchandise in my wardrobe, but I hope that's just clearing the way for a Moopsy shirt by next season. Until the big conclusion next week, Trek friends, I've been your host, Dustin Wing.